Hi guys, I'm Shmee, and today you join me at Manhart, where I'm surrounded by some very cool cars, including an MH2 630 that I've driven before, but today we're going to come over and take a look at this car, the MH1 400. So this is based on the BMW M135i, of course. The sort of second generation of the 1 Series. I actually used to own a 1 Series as it happens, although that was a diesel car. The 400 fairly obviously represents the rough ballpark for the horsepower output of this car. It's running about 410, 420 horsepower, along with 600 plus Newton meters of torque. So the standard car is only 326 horsepower. You're nearly 100 up on that, and 450 Newton meters, so over 150 up on the torque front as well. There are a couple of other sort of cosmetic and aerodynamic modifications as well to the car, but mostly it's quite discreet. Would you believe that that car has 400 horsepower? It's just sort of that kind of sleeper, discreet, powerful, fun, almost go-kart-like car, and I'm going to get an experience to take it out for a test drive and see what it's like as well. But first, let's just sort of walk around and have a look at some of the other changes. And down here, we've got a new carbon fiber sort of lip splitter, a little bit more sort of downforce and aggression down at the front. New carbon fiber parts around the intake sort of shape there. New Manhart wheels, the concave one. Wheel design in satin black. We keep coming down. Carbon fiber mirrors. And around to the rear, where you've got a new exhaust system down here. The carbon finishes around the M Performance exhaust, as well as some other modifications as well. And we're going to hear that very shortly. Before we go anywhere, let's have a look at the interior, which is part of the package that has a lot of the M Performance options and an Oron display as well in the center that we'll get to in a moment. But lots of sort of Alcantara, the steering wheel with the red center stripe as well. The M Performance shift knob, which is quite nice as well. Small, short throw on that. It's got a new clutch and flywheel, so it will have quite a sporty and aggressive drive. But like I said, starts life as an M135i, looks very discreet, but goes, well, presumably really rather well in its new MH1 400 guise. So we will hear it fire up, take the car outside, and get ready to take it for a short little drive and see what this is like. Oh, not a bad start at all. The 3-litre twin power straight 6, of course, in there. So let's get the car outside. It's got that kind of traditional BMW rumble going on, with a little bit more oomph as well. Now the car is outside, I'm just going to start this up. Wait for it. And you get those crackles and burbles on the startup, which is great. And that's just in sort of the standard just turned on mode. Just a little blip and you hear a lot of that. You can obviously turn it up into Sport, Sport Plus, depending how you want to drive it. But I notice immediately the clutch is very, very heavy. This is very much race clutch configuration specification. It is super, super stiff. So I'm gonna have to get used to this as we drive. But let's head out onto the road, being careful of the fairly low front splitter, and get underway here and see what it's like. So yes, I can feel that clutch immediately. The short shifter is nice, and we're off. Just a tiny little bit of traffic to navigate, and this is where if I lift out the clutch, you can hear the lightweight flywheel doing its thing there. Makes it a little bit rattly, so to speak, but that's part of having the driving engagement when you're then driving properly, which this so far seems like it does sort of completely on. For a 1 Series, it feels very, very race car, very manually involving, and this is just poodling around the town so far. He says, nearly getting the clutch wrong there, but we're on the move. Given that I'm driving a car here with lowering springs and very big wheels, the ride is unsurprisingly very, very firm. But that sort of is part of making it stiffer, making it go-kart-like, and making it about performance and track, and that's what Manhart are doing. They're creating cars that you can drive on the road, but you can take this also to the Nürburgring, to the Nordschleife, and have a pretty fun lap out there as well. So firm end driving around on town, but this is going to have good turn-in as a result of that when we're out on the countryside roads, which is where I'm trying to head to get the most out of the car and be able to enjoy it. So let's see if we can find somewhere a little bit nice to drive this thing in a moment. Here we go then, hello countryside. we can start stretching the legs a little bit more, although I'm currently in comfort mode, which is obviously not how you'd have it if you were going for a sporty drive. But I say the ride was rough, but going over some really rough patches right here doesn't actually seem too bad in comfort. If we turn it up to sport, no doubt it will get firmer, and yep, that is definitely bumping around a bit more, but it's also making a little bit more noise, and we like that too. The hilarious thing about the sound of this car is if I just put the window down a touch so you can hear more of this. Little press, bubble, 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 overrun. And the turbos as well. You hear a lot of that, so we're on a nice bit of road now. That means we can enjoy it a touch more. So let's see what this is like. And there's a lot of power immediately. It does feel very, very go-karty. Decent-ish turn in here, from what I can feel. The clutch is actually really nice, even though it is very, very firm. You have to be very precise and accurate. This road is lovely for coming for a little test drive here. It's fast as well, you know. I mean, it should be 400 horsepower, well, over 400 horsepower. 410, 420 is a quite significant number, and I think we easily get carried away and forget how big that is. I mean, my Focus RS is 375 in the Mount Tune Focus RS, but this is another, you know, sort of chunk on top of that, which makes for this sort of proper level of power, and the clutch makes some interesting noises, but that's kind of part of that race car experience as the crackles just go crazy. And this is in sport mode. If we turn it up also into Sport Plus, it gets noisier. You can hear that straight away. It gets much noisier. Let's just get out of this little village, find somewhere where we can explore and drive it properly. Sport Plus will get firmer, everything will just get a little bit tighter, more track focused. ESC goes into dynamic mode, although obviously it's slightly drizzly today, and this is a lot of power just through the rear wheels. It is the old sort of style BMW. The new ones are leaning towards this front wheel drive thing, but from this era, still just rear wheel drive. Those burbles though, as you just cruise along. Window down. You just give it a tiny little press. And also you've got the Oron display here, which you can probably just about see, that has all the information you could want from within the car, sort of track data, performance data, all sorts of facts and figures about what it's up to under the skin, hooked into the ECUs. We are on the countryside, tractors everywhere. And I am waiting for a bit of open road whereby we can explore this a little bit more. So, fingers crossed that's coming up any moment now. Okay, this looks good. So, let's go. Up towards just over 7,000 for the red line. Yeah, it's definitely a fast car, and almost an undramatic fast, because that got to the speed limit very quickly there. It's very nice to blip it down with the short throw of this shifter. I mean, it's a bit of a pocket rocket, isn't it, this thing? It's, I mean, a normal M135i or an M140i, or the 2 Series equivalents, are pretty quick and entertaining cars to drive. But when you give it over 100, well, just under, sorry, 100 horsepower extra, like, think about that. That's a lot. That's a lot of power. And also the fact that this is a 1 Series, it's small, it's nimble, it's agile. You can just point it and blast around without sort of worrying about the size of it, because it's a fairly small car to start. And it's just entertaining to drive, and that's sometimes, well, regularly, as I say, what this is about. That's why you drive a car, why you drive a sports car, is to have a good time and an entertaining time while you're at the wheel of it. The roads here are just ace for driving. It's just awesome. And in a car like this, like I said, it's small, it's easily positionable. You can just have a good time. It's not the most comfortable kind of driving to do that, but it does sound good. I've just pulled over for a second because I want you to hear the silliness of this exhaust, and the Oron display here on the dashboard tells us that the flap is open. We're in Sport Plus mode, so that's done through the selector down here. But just listen to this for a moment. silly, the way it burbles away and crackles like that. That's pretty much, I think, my favourite kind of noise from a car sort of exhaust. The burbles on the overrun, or maybe a really good downshift. I'm not sure. But the sound in this thing is pretty awesome, so I just wanted to share that. Anyway, back on the roads. It stopped raining, I think, for a moment, and let's have some more fun. One thing that's quite interesting, so you've just heard the car from the outside, where basically it's really loud, but inside when you're driving, even when you accelerate reasonably firmly, it's not actually that loud. So there's a lot of sound deadening in here almost that you could strip out or get in the back seats or something and just have the exhaust noise coming through. Because it's actually reasonably civilized, and that's basically the way cars are going, isn't it? The sound deadening is getting better and better and better, and regulations normally mean the cars are getting quieter, even though in this case when you dial it up it's not so quiet. Now you can also see that it started raining quite a lot more hard on me, so I've got to be a little bit sensible, but if you do put your foot down when it straightens out and sort of experience the acceleration in here, 400 plus horsepower is a big number, and it's easy to sort of forget that it wasn't that long ago that a Ferrari had 400 horsepower. They may have 800 now, but they had 400 like 15 years ago. And you put your foot down and it's really fast. It's really fast, and yes, obviously there's a little bit of lag towards the turbos to get all that extra power, but when you do go, it gets moving quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if even a car like this could put in a stonking lap time at the Nürburgring, that kind of thing. Like, it feels like really set up for that purpose, for moving quickly in that kind of environment. And yeah, like I sort of said before, it's sort of entertaining to drive on these lovely countryside roads, if only it wasn't raining on me. But you get kind of used to the clutch feel. It's heavy, so on a long drive it might be pretty sort of enduring. If you're driving through town a lot, it might be on the intense side, but the clutch itself, in this instance for me, is giving it a very nice setup, a very engaging setup, a very sort of driver focused feel, which is obviously what I like driving. And up towards the red line there's just not that much noise out of it when you're driving along, and that's in Sport Plus with the flap open. It's just when you sort of give it a little rev, start to get the burbles and overrun, although we didn't really have that many on it that time. But I'm just enjoying the drive, having a good time. I'd push it harder if the weather was a little bit more on my side. But I think firm for sure, but equally turn in very nice. Power, ample, bit of turbo lag, but still you get a lot delivering through when it's sort of on the move. The general sort of feel of the car, the 1 Series obviously is a great car, great for the money, serious performance, but inside, everything you're sort of looking at, touching and feeling is pretty nice as well. It's a BMW, there we go, some burbles. Get some more, no, not on that downshift. So overall, it's a pretty cool package. It's a very sort of, I guess, specific package. You want your M135i to go racing. You've got an M135i already, shall we say, and then you want to sort of liven it up a little bit more. This would be a pretty nice way to go about it, and a nice sort of setup and things you can add to the car. Anywho, let's head back and put the car away because the weather is just getting worse on me here. I've returned to Manhart, but let's have a quick little look around here, and I'm just going to spend a moment on the Oron display that you have here. I might come back and show you these again in the future, but you've got so much information that you can see in here. I've just used a peak power of 13 PS because I was just maneuvering the car. I just turned it off and turned it back on again so we don't have the full values, but you've got a ton of stuff that you can see in here. Quarter mile, top speed, the car's been 262 kilometers an hour. Nice, not by me, but on the Autobahn, of course. We are in Germany, and you can see your current PS. It doesn't show you when you're not in gear, but basically you've got lots of information there that you can see, which is kind of cool. On that, I'll put it back where it was. Otherwise, 1 Series as we know it, new Manhart logo on here. You got some nice touches. The sort of, I think, faux carbon bit that's here on the steering wheel, the red 12 o'clock stripe up top, and generally equipped as you would kind of expect. I do like this. The shifter is really nice. It's got a good sort of feel to it. You can hear the flywheel going quiet when I lift off the clutch. Getting rattly again there. But interesting trim finish in the car. But yeah, it feels like it might just have stopped raining on me, so let's turn it off, hop on out, just have a last sort of little glance around the exterior of the car while we're here. Miserable weather. It sits very low when it's up on the slight sort of hill like this. Obviously the car is a little bit lowered with new springs. That beast of an exhaust system. Gosh, it got dirty. Always the way with hatchbacks because of the shape. It all sort of flicks up the back. Just a short drive. Still managed to make that much of a mess of it. I quite like the 6 twin-spoke wheel design. It's got new brakes as well, new brake system. Well, it can have new brakes as an option for the car, given the additional power it has available. But we're back. Fun little drive, short little drive on what has become a gloomy day, but a car that is a lot of fun to drive, that's for sure. Not the easiest to drive and not perhaps the most logical, if that makes sense. It doesn't sort of compute as a normal package. But if you have an M135i, that's a very nice way to go about it, a way to bring some more excitement back into it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up there. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Manhart for allowing me to take out the MH1 400 today, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. That's it though, I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers!